That little amber light on your dashboard just turned on, and your stomach dropped a little. You are already imagining a four-figure repair bill, a week without your car, and a service advisor telling you something is seriously wrong. Here is what I want you to know right now before you do anything else. The check engine light does not mean your car is about to break down. In the vast majority of cases on Honda vehicles, the check engine light is triggered by something minor. Something that costs $20 to fix, or in many cases, something you can resolve in your driveway for free in under 10 minutes. Today I am going to walk you through the most common check engine light causes on Honda Civics, Accords, CR Versys, and Pilots, explain exactly what each code means in plain English, tell you which ones you can fix yourself right now, and tell you which ones actually require a shop visit. Stay until the end. The last cause I cover is the most common one of all, and fixing it costs nothing. Welcome to HondaRealm. Every week we cover the real information Honda owners need, so you are never caught off guard. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Let's get into it. First, let's establish something important. The check engine light, technically called the malfunction indicator lamp, is connected to your Honda's OBD2 system, which stands for Onboard Diagnostics version 2. This system monitors dozens of sensors throughout your engine, transmission, and emission system continuously while you drive. When any sensor reading falls outside of its expected range, the system stores a fault code and turns on the check engine light to notify you. That fault code is a specific alphanumeric code, like P0420 or P0301, that points to exactly which system triggered the alert. Here is what most Honda owners do not realize. The check engine light does not tell you severity. It does not distinguish between a loose gas cap that took 2 seconds to tighten and a catalytic converter that needs replacement. It is the same light for both. This is why the first thing you should always do when the check engine light comes on is read the actual fault code before spending a single dollar at a shop. You can read the fault code yourself for free in about 2 minutes. Any AutoZone, O'Reilly Auto Parts, or Advance Auto Parts will read your fault codes at no charge using their store code scanner. You walk in, they plug it into your OBD2 port under the dashboard. The code comes up in seconds, and they give you a printout. With the actual code in hand, you know exactly what you are dealing with before anyone can upsell you on a diagnosis you do not need. Cause number 1, and the most common check engine light trigger on Honda vehicles, a loose, damaged, or missing gas cap. The code associated with this is P0457 or P0456. Evaporative emission system leak detected. Your Honda's fuel system is a sealed system. The gas cap maintains the pressure seal on the fuel tank. When the cap is not fully tightened, or when the cap's rubber seal has cracked or degraded, the evaporative emission system detects a pressure leak and triggers the check engine light. The fix is completely free if the cap itself is okay. Remove the gas cap, inspect the rubber gasket around the inside of the cap. It should be smooth, uncracked, and uniform. Reinstall the cap and turn it until you hear it click at least 2 or 3 times. Drive the car for 1 to 3 days. On most Hondas, the check engine light will turn itself off automatically once the system confirms the leak is resolved. If the light stays on after 3 days of normal driving, the gas cap seal may be cracked and the cap needs replacing. A genuine Honda OEM gas cap costs $12 to $18 on Amazon. That is the complete repair. If your check engine light just came on and you filled up with gas recently, check the gas cap first before doing anything else. You will feel slightly embarrassed at how often this is the entire solution. Cause number 2, a faulty oxygen sensor, which generates codes like P0136, P0141, P0156, or P0161 depending on which sensor and which bank of the engine. Your Honda has at least 2 oxygen sensors, one upstream before the catalytic converter and one downstream after it. These sensors measure the oxygen content in the exhaust gases and feed that data to the engine computer. which uses it to continuously adjust the fuel-to-air mixture for optimal combustion efficiency. When an oxygen sensor degrades or fails, the engine loses accurate feedback on its own combustion process. The result is reduced fuel economy, often noticeably so, sometimes by 3 to 5 miles per gallon, and in some cases rough idle or hesitation. Honda oxygen sensors typically last 60,000 to 100,000 miles. On a high-mileage Honda, a failing oxygen sensor is one of the most common check engine triggers. The sensor itself costs $30 to $80 depending on which sensor it is, and whether you buy OEM or a quality aftermarket brand like Denso, which makes sensors for Honda's own assembly line. Replacing an oxygen sensor is a job most mechanical-minded Honda owners can do themselves in about 45 minutes with a basic socket set and an oxygen sensor socket, which you can rent free from any auto parts store. If you take it to a shop, expect $80 to $150 in labor on top of the part. This is not a safety issue, but it will cost you in fuel economy until it is fixed. Cause number 3. Catalytic converter efficiency below threshold, which is code P0420 on most Hondas. This is one of the most feared check engine codes because catalytic converter replacement on a Honda can cost $600 to $1,200 or more. But before you panic, hear me out. Because not every P0420 means you need a new catalytic converter. The P0420 code means the downstream oxygen sensor detected that the catalytic converter is not processing exhaust gases as efficiently as it should. There are several things that can trigger this besides a genuinely failed converter. An exhaust leak anywhere between the engine and the converter, even a small leak at a flange or gasket, can cause the downstream sensor to read incorrectly and trigger P0420. This costs $20 to $80 to repair. A failing downstream oxygen sensor itself can give false P0420 readings. If you have not replaced your oxygen sensors at high mileage, replace those first before authorizing a catalytic converter replacement. It is a much cheaper test. Low-quality fuel used consistently over time causes the catalytic converter to accumulate deposits that reduce its efficiency. Running several tanks of top-tier certified fuel like Shell or Chevron has cleared P0420 codes in some Honda owners permanently. If you genuinely need a new catalytic converter, consider an OEM unit from Honda or a CARB-compliant aftermarket unit. Non-compliant cheap converters from Amazon often re-trigger P0420 within months and are also illegal in California and several other states. Cause number 4. VTEC system oil pressure issues, most commonly code P2647 on K-Series and R-Series Honda engines. This code specifically affects the Civic C, Accord Sport, older CR-V, and various other Hondas with VTEC-equipped engines. As I covered in an earlier video, the VTEC solenoid screen can become clogged with sludge if oil changes have been delayed or if the oil level was allowed to run low. When that screen clogs, oil pressure to the VTEC actuation system drops below threshold, and the engine computer logs P2647. Before you let anyone charge you for a VTEC solenoid replacement, which runs $200 to $400. Pull the solenoid yourself, clean the screen with brake cleaner, reinstall it, and clear the code with a free code reader at the auto parts store. In a significant percentage of P2647 cases, this resolves the code completely. If the code returns after cleaning the screen, the solenoid itself may be failing, but you ruled out the free fix first. Also worth checking, your oil level. If the engine is a quart low, VTEC oil pressure can drop below the detection threshold at high RPM, even with a clean solenoid. Check the dipstick before anything else. The next two causes I am going to cover are ones that most Honda owners immediately assume are expensive engine problems. Both of them have free or near-free fixes that most shops will not tell you about up front because there is no money in telling you to tighten a hose clamp. Pay attention to these. Cause number 5, vacuum leaks, which generate a range of lean condition codes including P0171, System 2 Lean Bank 1, and sometimes P0507, which is Idle Control System RPM High. Your Honda's engine depends on a network of vacuum hoses to manage air pressure differentials throughout the intake system. These hoses are made of rubber, and rubber degrades over time, especially in heat. On Hondas with over 100,000 miles, cracked, collapsed, or disconnected vacuum hoses are extremely common and are a frequent source of check engine lights that look like major engine problems on paper. A lean condition code, like P0171 on a high-mileage Honda, should always prompt a thorough vacuum line inspection before any expensive diagnosis. You can do this yourself at home. With the engine running, use a can of carburetor cleaner and spray small amounts around vacuum line connections, the intake manifold gasket, and the throttle body gasket. If the engine RPM changes noticeably when you spray a specific area, you have found a vacuum leak at that location. Replacing a vacuum hose costs $2 to $15 at any auto parts store. The repair takes 20 minutes. A shop will often charge $150 in diagnostic time to find the exact same leak using their smoke machine, which does the same thing your carb cleaner did, just more precisely and more expensively. Cause number 6. Worn spark plugs or a failing ignition coil, which generate misfire codes. P0301 through P0304 on a 4-cylinder Honda, with the last digit indicating which cylinder is misfiring. A P0301 means cylinder 1 is misfiring, P0302 means cylinder 2, and so on. Misfires feel unmistakable when they are significant. The engine shudders or hesitates, especially under acceleration. But a partial or intermittent misfire can be subtle, showing up only as a rough idle or slightly reduced fuel economy before the check engine light appears. Honda recommends replacing spark plugs every 30,000 miles for copper plugs or every 100,000 miles for iridium plugs. If you have a high-mileage Honda and have never changed the spark plugs, they are almost certainly past their service life. A set of 4 NGK or Denso iridium spark plugs for a Honda Civic or Accord costs $20 to $35 online. The replacement job takes about 30 to 45 minutes and requires only basic hand tools plus a spark plug socket. This is one of the most satisfying DIY jobs on a Honda because the performance improvement after fresh plugs on a high-mileage engine is immediately noticeable. If only one cylinder is misfiring and the plugs are relatively new, the ignition coil for that cylinder may be failing. Individual Honda ignition coils cost $25 to $60 each. Swap the coil from the misfiring cylinder to an adjacent cylinder and see if the misfire code follows the coil to the new cylinder. If it does, you have confirmed the coil is the problem. Cause number 7. A dirty or failing mass airflow sensor, which typically generates code P0101 or P0102. The mass airflow sensor, or MAF sensor, measures the volume and density of air entering the engine, so the computer knows exactly how much fuel to inject for the correct air-to-fuel ratio. When the MAF sensor is dirty from accumulated oil vapor deposits and airborne particulates, it reads the airflow incorrectly. The engine runs too rich or too lean, fuel economy drops, and performance becomes inconsistent. Here is the important thing. A dirty MAF sensor and a failed MAF sensor look identical in terms of codes, but they have completely different repair costs. A new OEM Honda MAF sensor costs $90 to $150. Cleaning a dirty MAF sensor costs $8 for a can of dedicated MAF sensor cleaner at any auto parts store. Always clean the MAF sensor first before considering replacement. Remove the intake duct to access the sensor. Spray the MAF sensor cleaner directly on the sensing wires. Do not touch them. Let it air dry completely for 30 minutes. Reinstall, clear the code, and test drive. In many cases, the code does not return. If it does return after cleaning, the sensor is genuinely failing and needs replacement. Replacing a MAF sensor is a 15-minute job that requires only a basic screwdriver. 7 causes, and most of them have free or very low-cost fixes that you can handle yourself before spending $1 at any shop. The rule to remember is this. Always get the code read first for free at AutoZone or O'Reilly. Look up the specific code for your year and model online, and exhaust the cheap fixes before authorizing any paid diagnostic. A check engine light is information, not a sentence. With the right information, you can approach it calmly and make a smart decision instead of walking into a shop blind and paying for whatever they tell you need. If this video helped you figure out what is happening with your Honda, share it with another Honda owner who has a check engine light on right now. There are millions of them, and most of them are about to overpay for a repair they did not need. Subscribe to HondaRealm and hit the bell. Next video, we are going deep on the Honda models that have the best and worst long-term reliability records based on real owner data, not manufacturer claims. See you then.